Welcome, everyone, to episode 1 of the Dare to Age Well Now podcast. My name is Angela Belford, and I'm your host. I decided to invite my co host from our primary podcast, Be Freaking Awesome, Sami Kinnison, to join me so we can dialogue about why I have a second podcast now. Welcome,
Yeah,
Sami.
thank you so much for having me on your other podcast. I think we should make it clear why you have a separate podcast so nobody thinks that my feelings are hurt, that you just wanted to ditch me and do your own project and all these things. It's a good thing for us to talk about the real reason why, not just that you wanted to talk about things without me. So tell
Well,
us a little bit, Angela. What is the point of this podcast?
I'm going to start with the name. So the name is kind of symbolic to me. Number one, it's dare, which I love that. I love that verb, dare, and that can mean anything. And then the idea of age and well, all of us are aging, whether we want to or not. We are aging. So we can age poorly or we can age well. And what I love about the word well is that it actually is something that you get to define, right? It's not living up to societal standards. It's not age in the way that I think you should. It's age well. And then the now is like, we can't wait for the future. We have to do this now. I'm excited about episode 2. We're actually going to break down, if not now, when, which is super fun.
Is it fun to break down? If not now, when? Feels like daunting and maybe scary, but sure, fun. We'll go with that one.
Well, for me, so much of what I do is I orient my life toward the future that I want to create. And then I use that image and that vision of what the future I want to create to make decisions today. And the choices that I make today impact who I become. We talk about on the Be Freaking Awesome podcast my fun problem of I wanted to be able to be fun without drinking alcohol. I was making progress, and then finally just had to stop. And so I'm probably 5 months into that journey. And because I don't like how I feel the next day, right? I don't like how I feel for a couple of days, actually, after I've drank. And so I find myself I'm motivated and pulled toward a future I'm creating instead of trying to outrun my past, instead of trying to like overcome the demons. So much of my life, my focus was on overcoming my childhood. And I just don't want to do that anymore. And so I want to be forward focused. The other thing is that the name Dare to Age Well Now is kind of an acronym, not kind of an, it is an acronym. And those that know me know that I'm a nerd and we're going to have an acronym. And the acronym is DAWN. And that is symbolic because for me, so much of society and so much of kind of our programming is that when we hit a certain age, and there's this idea that it's a downhill slide, like you've climbed to the top and now you're over the hill and you're down. And I think of it as different. I have really embraced the Victor Hugo quote, and I think you'll hear it in a couple of podcast episodes of 40s are the old age of your youth and 50s are the youth of your old age. And so for me, this season has been a season of a new beginning and kind of a new horizon. I have really embraced empty nest and have really been exploring what it takes to live well and to age well. And so I want to be able to unpack that.
I love that. And I think that it's so interesting the quote that you shared. I work with in a volunteer group. There's two 40-year-old women who run the group, and they are constantly talking about how old they are. And oh, I just don't. I'm so old. I'm so old. Oh, these things these kids do these days and the technology. And I'm like, can you guys stop talking about how old you are? Number one, because you're not that old. Number two, they very much so are exhibiting the old age of their youth. Whereas when I look at you and dad, you guys really much are exhibiting the youth of your old age. And you do feel more youthful than these friends I have that are in their 40s, even though you're older than them. And I think that as somebody in my 30s, I don't often think about aging well because when you make the comment, we're all aging, I'm like, no, we're not. No, I'm still young. I'll be young forever. Of course I am. Obviously, I get how science works and I have children and they continue to age. And despite all of my requests not to, um, whatever, everybody gets older, gets bigger and all the things. And I think it is something that the more intentional we are, the younger we are, you can set yourself on a different path. And so I love what you're doing and trying to bring information and knowledge that I don't think applies to just people in their 40s, 50s, 60s. I think this really is something that's applicable to broad generations.
Yeah.
Now, you might find within this podcast that people in their 20s and 30s are like, that's not for me. And you're like, oh, that's cute that you think it's not for you. You'll get here. You'll get to the point where you know it is for you, but that's cute that you don't actually think you need it yet. So,
Yeah, and for me, there's every conversation I'm having with people my age is circling around these topics of menopause and I don't feel well and I'm not sleeping the same as I used to and I'm not, my body's just not the same. So I'm not denying that reality, but I'm saying, well, okay, cool. What can we do?
what what do you hope people get out of the podcast?
So, great question because it's also a little bit different format than the Be Freaking Awesome podcast. These episodes, I'm actually aiming at 15 to 20 minutes, which sounds crazy. And here's how I do it. I don't have to be the expert. I actually have been able to take on the role of learner. So what I'm doing is inviting wellness professionals, whether it's chiropractor, functional medicine, I've had a physical therapist, I've had energy healers, acupuncturists, all different types of people in this wellness space. I'm asking them questions related to these topics of aging well. And I ask them in an area that they are comfortable talking and also passionate about talking. This is what I talk about all day, every day in my practice. And so, yes, I'd love to talk about it. And it's been really fun for me. It is absolutely resulting in behavior change for me. Like I have been, and we talk about on Be Freaking Awesome, I've been struggling with the idea of weightlifting. I don't like weightlifting. I think it's boring. I get that there's a benefit for it, but it is very hard to imagine myself, oh, you'll be stronger, right? I can measure that I can ride my bike 8 to 10 miles, right? But I just lifting things. So I've even tried to fix that, but go ahead.
Well, I was going to say you can also measure I can lift more weight, but what's the benefit
What's the
of having a
benefit?
bar that I can lift that's 55 pounds
Yes,
instead of
yes, yes,
40
yes.
pounds?
Yes. Now, I did last year, my little train cruise across Europe when I one day changed trains 4 or 5 times. Anyway, I had to get off the train, carry my backpack and my rolling bag off the train, down the stairs, across the platform, up the stairs, and then jump back on. And it's just not realistic to expect my husband, who's my same age, to carry two rolling bags. Also, running around New York, it's nice to be able to carry your bag.
I
Yeah.
really like to see videos on the internet where people will be like, there's somebody at the gym doing a weird workout and they're like, what are you training for? And they'll be like carrying a medicine ball on their hip and like jogging on a treadmill. And they're like, what is that you're training? And most of them is like, then it cuts to them doing a parenting move where they've got a kid on their hip and they're like carrying something else and like jogging through an airport. Like, anyway, that's sort of what it needs is that
Yeah.
there aren't a lot of typical workouts, if you will, that might be like, oh, look, here's your weightlifting exercise that is specifically designed for you to pick up your luggage and walk down a flight of stairs. It's
Right.
like,
I've
okay, I can get that I need strength for that, but is it actually the right muscle groups for this?
I've actually joked and said since we have 2 flights of stairs in our house, I've joked and said I'm just going to store like my winter clothes in a carry-on bag and I'm going to do that. And that's going to be because then I will actually connect the thing. And I like being able to, when I'm on an airplane, be able to lift the bag up
Hmm.
into the overhead on my own. And so now I've started to connect it with a what. But here was the big change that happened for me as I was recording one of the episodes about the idea of weightlifting, where I'm kind of whining a little bit, is I realized that I was focused on the task and not the result kind of what we're saying, but even in the like way I talk about it, I want to be stronger and I want to do strength training is different than weightlifting is a boring task, but training, strength training, it really it really tweaked something in my brain just a little bit to do that. And the other thing that has helped me is getting confirmation that at the very least, I want to be able to hold my own weight. And there's all these studies about what benefits you can get if you can, like, even dead hang, not even pull ups. But just dead hang, hold your own weight. And you may start for 10 to 15 seconds and then build from there. And so I'm like, okay, these make sense to me. If you fall, this can change your whole lifestyle. And so, in changing my lifestyle, I want to make sure that I can catch myself and really be able to do well in that.
I think that's wonderful. And I think that's just feels really practical of what you're going to be sharing. Because it's a shorter episode, it's a little bit easier to digest, to consume on the go, and continue to make a change for the better while you're going. Before we wrap up this intro episode, Angela, I know that you interview a lot of experts and a lot of other people, but if you could leave people with like one piece of advice to think about aging well, what would it be?
Before I answer that question, Sammy, I remembered one more thing on the why are you doing this? And when I was 24, my maternal grandmother passed away, and she was 72. And her quality of life the last 6 or 7 years wasn't fantastic. And it ebbed and flowed. Like sometimes she could live by herself, and sometimes she couldn't. And at 72, she has five of her seven children did not live longer than her. And I knew that genetically I had already was kind of back up against the wall, at least on the maternal side of things. And so I decided at 24 that I was going to do what I could do. Like there's only so much I can do to overcome genetics, but I'm going to do what I can do to be able to still be there because I missed her so much. My kids didn't really get to know her. And she was the consistency in my life. And so for me, part of what I want to do is I don't know what's going to come my way. I don't know what diagnosis, what falls, what injuries, any of that sort of thing. But to the best of my ability, I want to set myself up for success. And so it's been a passion. Those that have known me for a long time know that I have sold two different direct sales companies that are nutritional supplements. I was a health coach and did my, weight loss journey on Facebook all day, every day. And what I found is that as a health coach, there was a limited number of people that I could touch. And some of my health coach friends would disagree. Hundreds and thousands. Yes, yes. And it just wasn't the right fit for me. And this gives me an opportunity to expand that impact and expand that reach. And so one of the things that keeps me going and kind of what I guess the last thing I'll leave people with, that future version of myself that I want to pull me and motivate me is that when your kids come over to my house, they start out, all the babies start out sleeping in the basement because it's very dark and you can sleep very well in the basement here at my house. And so when they stay with me, I hold their hand and we walk down the stairs. When they get, I'll do it, their little 2-year-old self. And I literally say to myself, I want to be able to walk down these stairs with Henry's kids, with Peter's kids when they're 2. And the way our stairs work is right at the end, it gets real thin. And right when they are little, at this age, I can walk on that thin side. I'm strong enough. And I'm like, when it's their kids, I'll probably let them walk on that other side. But sometimes they slip and fall, and I can with one hand hold them up. And that's what I imagine. Yes, it's cool to travel and all of those things, but really wanting to be able to hold the grandbabies, walk with them down the stairs, play with them in the park. I want to do everything I can to be there for my great grandchildren. And I know that may not happen. I may not get that wish, but it will not be from a lack of trying.
I think that's wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing. And I love that I get to be a little bit a part of your future vision within that.
Indeed.
How can people support you? This is oftentimes on our Be Freaking Awesome podcast. I'd ask, where can people find you? They've obviously
Right.
found you if they're listening here, but what are some ways we all can help support the Dare to Age Well Now podcast?
Well, with this podcast, I'm actually going to test some new ideas. So, one of the new ideas I'm going to do is I'm actually going to have this podcast live on Substack. And the cool thing about Substack,
Mm.
if you don't know about it, is that you can subscribe there to get content, and you can also interact with the community. So, what I really want to do with this podcast specifically is to build community. And so, you'll be able to find that. We'll put it in the show notes. But the normal things of the podcast, of course, wherever you're listening, just go click the little subscribe button, whether that's on YouTube. You will find my face. It's really on some of the episodes are hilarious because like we have an episode on gut health and I spend most of it with my mouth hanging wide open. So anyway, check it out on YouTube, but also on Substack. We'll have the video version as well. So would love to interact with you guys. Tell me what you like about an episode, and I'm hoping to tag in some of our experts so that they can also be part of the community. So thanks so much, Sami, for helping me kick off this new adventure.
Absolutely. Always happy to be supportive and a part of the journey.
Thanks for joining this journey, and I hope that this podcast will inspire you to dare to age well now.